this is Adam Bernard with AutoPerspectives, and it is once again time for a weekly news roundup. So let's look at some of the more interesting things that caught our eye over the past week or so. We'll start off with Peugeot's new shape, the Polygon. This is a concept designed to preview the next generation 208, which is due on the Stella Small platform around 2027. This was originally previewed within the Fortnite video game universe, so you know that Peugeot's going after some of those young buyers. I'm excited about the brand. Peugeot feels that the exterior design was inspired by the 205 mini car, and you'll see a few hints of that here and there as you go around this. Up front, the trio of front light bars is an interpretation of Peugeot's new 3-claw lighting signature. And the Polygon is designed to be an EV, and in fact, it sounds like that Stella Small may only show up in market as an EV, and that if you want a small internal combustion vehicle, you'll have to use Stellantis' new smart car architecture to get that done. There are front and rear animated micro LED screens with another screen on the C-pillar, which sort of echoes the 205 there, which shows the state of charge of the EV. The Polygon is also designed with gull-wing doors, which of course are very mechanically complex, but they do allow easier entry and exit. And Peugeot actually says that these reduce the number of required parts, which was one of the goals in developing this particular concept. The Goodyear tires feature laser engraving to allow bespoke customization. Again, not likely to make it to production, but an interesting approach to personalization. And Peugeot notes that the single-piece 3D printed wheel covers are made from recycled plastic. A lot of the news of the Polygon is actually inside the vehicle. The name comes from the new Hypersquare steer-by-wire rectangular steering control, and you can see it here. And yes, the plan is to actually put that into production. It's part of the next generation iCockpit design, and we first saw this on the Inception concept back in 2023. Peugeot notes that the interior can be personalized with a choice of colors and materials, and that the Hypersquare controller lock-to-lock requires about one full turn of the controller versus 3 turns of the steering wheel of the 208, with slower response at higher speeds for greater stability. So Peugeot believes that from an ergonomic standpoint, this is an improvement over the traditional steering wheel. The steer-by-wire also filters out unwanted vibrations, get you a better feel of the road. There is no traditional IP cluster. There's info that's projected from a micro LED panel to the base of the windshield, and that's equivalent to a 31-inch display. The seats themselves, and you can sort of see them here in this image, are replaced with 3D printed racing shells and a swappable molded pieces of foam. And the interior lacquer features components from recycled tires, and the entire cabin is covered in forged textile from recycled seats. So some level of environmental responsibility and sustainability. Again, the interior, aside from the Hypersquare, is probably a lot more advanced than we expect to see on the production 208. But it does represent a significant change from an ergonomic standpoint, and we'll see when it gets to the production what the media thinks when they get behind the wheel. Next up, we have the next generation or second generation Kia Telluride. This launches early next year, about 7 years after the original vehicle hit the market on a largely carryover platform, but all new inside and out. Kia's been really pushing the limits of design since Peter Schreier stepped in years back, and the new Telluride is no exception. It features a bold and complex pattern grille up front with vertical headlamps and vertical driving lights. When you see this come down the road, you're not really going to mistake this for any other brand of vehicle. Up to 21-inch wheels are available, and they fit nicely here into the wheel arches. This particular variant that you see in this image is the X Pro, which is the off-road variant, like a Tremor or a Z71. It features blacked-out wheel arches, mirrors, trim, and D-pillars, with raised roof rails, all-terrain tires, and a 9.1-inch ground clearance. So more than just an aesthetic package. To Kia's credit, there is some additional off-road functionality built into the vehicle. The new Telluride is slightly longer on a longer wheelbase, and is also a little taller as well, so you get more space inside the vehicle. Note the flush door handles and slim vertical taillight bars. Yes, there is a little Range Rover if you look closely at the new Telluride. No official word on powertrain. We'll get that at the LA Auto Show next week, but it's likely to include the Palisade's 2.5-liter turbo hybrid and the same vehicle's 3.5-liter V6 with an 8-speed automatic. The X Pro gets a ground lighting feature that projects light from the side mirrors, under the rear doors, and underneath the rear bumper. And if you raise the tailgate, there's more lighting that comes from there as well. So, when you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no street lights around, you have a little extra lighting assistance. The interior is a little smoother and a little less angular with, as you can see, a not quite round steering wheel here. A lot of nice premium materials and non-traditional colors. It is a little roomier. It's got a new column shift. There you see it, as we've seen on Kia's newer EVs as well. On the dashboard you see, quote, wood-like textures and real metal accents. It does retain the small climate control, touchscreen controls between the two larger displays. That's come under some criticism from folks who've driven some of the new Kia products. The cargo area features a folding luggage table with integrated ruler markings, so some nice functionality. And the interior colors include blackberry with sand beige, or what you're looking at here, which is deep navy blue with Tuscan umber. Overall, really, really nice. We've seen Hyundai kind of raise the bar with the Palisade, and now Kia is at the same level in terms of design, execution, and technology. And we'll pivot over to pickups with the Toyota Hilux, which now adds an EV option. If you're not familiar with the Hilux, it is Toyota's pickup everywhere but the US and Canada, pretty much. We get the Tacoma over here. The new Hilux is entering its 9th generation, and it launches late this year, coming out of Toyota's plant in Thailand. It should be noted, this is not a complete makeover. If you look very closely, the new Hilux actually has the same doors, glass, and roof as last year's Hilux. So it's a significant makeover, but not a complete makeover. The latest generation is badged the Travo, so we've seen other Hilux like the Revo in the past. And it features what Toyota calls cyber sumo design, and it illustrates a family resemblance to both the Tacoma and the 4Runner, with angular wheel arches and slim headlamps up front. Like the previous Hilux, there is a wide range of models available: regular, extended, and crew cabs, and 2- or 4-wheel drive. There's a lot of carryover bits under the hood: 2.8-liter turbo diesel, a 2.7-liter gas engine, which now gets a mild hybrid option, 6-speed manual, a 6-speed automatic. The one thing that we don't get in the new Hilux, surprisingly, is any kind of strong hybrid, either a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid. Toyota's talked about offering electrification options on all of their vehicles, and so this is no exception. But the difference here is that we get an EV instead, and I'll talk about that in a moment. The upgraded IMV platform, which was designed for emerging market trucks, includes new electric power steering, new engine and cabin mounts for reduced vibrations, new front rail extensions for improved crash performance, and a revised suspension setup. But of course, the news is the EV. So while you can't get a hybrid, you can get a fully electric Hilux. It has a 59 kilowatt hour battery, which does not sound that large for a midsize truck, but Toyota claims, fortunately, that's the largest size that will fit between the rails. And it's a 193 horsepower 2-motor setup with an estimated European WLTP range of about 150 miles. That would probably translate to about 120 miles in the US market, which is definitely not enough. Remember, that's before you put anything in the bed or you decide to tow anything with it. It does charge, fast charge at 150 kilowatts, which is not too bad. And it offers about a little over 3,500 pounds of towing and almost 1,600 pounds of payload. That is, unfortunately, about half the towing capability and about 1/3 the payload capability of the ICE-powered Hilux. So not only do you get a rather uncompetitive range, but you also get a truck that really can't do as much as you might expect it to. Now, if you're just buying it for a commuter or just a daily driver and you don't really need to carry things, then it becomes a little more acceptable. Toyota also noted that a hydrogen fuel cell variant will launch in 2028. Inside is an interior inspired by the newer Land Cruiser. It's got a floating central touchscreen, 8 inches on the cheapest Hiluxes, but 12.3 inches on most of them, and a shift-by-wire gear selector for the EV. It does, fortunately, retain physical controls. You can see a lot of them here for both HVAC and audio. The new Hilux offers the latest Teammate ADAS technology, including low-speed acceleration suppression, proactive driving assist, and an emergency driving stop system. There is also an available multi-terrain select, which offers modes like mud and sand, loose rock, and rock and dirt to improve traction control based on their off-road surface. So yes, this is definitely a vehicle you can take off-road. This is not a BFI truck. It is definitely fully off-road capable with nice body and frame architecture. But again, not for the North American markets, only for other markets. And finally, VW and China's Xpeng have come out with one of their first collaborative vehicles. If you recall, VW acquired 5% of Xpeng for about $700 million about 2 years ago, and that is part of a plan to collaborate on vehicles for the Chinese market, especially on the software side, where Volkswagen has been having a lot of trouble. They are partnered with Rivian for software development outside of China, but inside of China, Xpeng gets the nod. So this is intended to leverage Volkswagen's brand, because VW has been selling vehicles in China for quite a while, and Xpeng's technical expertise in both EVs and connectivity. It should be noted that VW sales in China are down. We're down 34% in the first half of 2025. So frankly, this improvement for Volkswagen's Chinese products cannot come soon enough. This particular vehicle is the ID Unyx 08. It is a midsize SUV, so think of it kind of like a Touareg. It joins the ID Unyx 7 compact sedan and the 6 compact SUV, and it is based on the ID Evo concept that we saw at Shanghai earlier this year. The ID Unyx 08 will launch next year in single and dual motor setups, up to a pretty impressive 496 horsepower and 2 lithium iron phosphate battery options, with a maximum range of about 434 miles on the Chinese cycle. That equates to about 325 miles on the EPA cycle. Volkswagen notes that the automated driving technology can actually pick up a driver at a parking lot, and they are targeting eventually level 3 autonomous capability. This is not a Volkswagen platform. It actually leverages Xpeng's 800-volt architecture that underpins the G9, which means 300 kilowatt fast charging, or 10 to 80% in about 20 minutes. It will join the Audi E5 as part of VW Group's collaborative portfolio of products. That vehicle was developed jointly between Audi and SAIC, and just as Volkswagen uses Xpeng's architecture, Audi was using SAIC's architecture there as well. So this definitely looks like a competitive vehicle for the Chinese market, especially in the face of newer EVs from a variety of startups. That about wraps things up for this week with AutoPerspectives. If you like what you've seen here, please subscribe and share. Visit autoperspectives.net to check out the blog, and we'll see you back here next week. So long.